Hello and good Sunday morning, everybody. Thank you very much for coming to the Legion of Memers channel. Big ups to Corey over here, who's actually going to teach us how to make a Fortnite character. For today's purposes, if you see in the background, right between the two boxes, you see D-Day Cobra's face. Hail Jeremy and hail the 199. Corey, how you doing today, man?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Good, good. Do you want to let the people kind of know how you got into this, like where you started, and
Right.
what brought everything forward?
Yeah. So by way of background, I was a software developer for about a decade, and then ended up switching careers and went into law. I'm a lawyer. I practice intellectual property law right now, and I watch FNT, I watch D-Day Cobra's streams, etc. I watch Legion of Memers. Always interested in what you guys are doing. Always interested in kind of the creativity. And then just decided, hey, I'm going to try my hand at some of this stuff. I have a lot of clients that work in the AI space, a lot of clients that work in deep fakes, voice fakes, these sorts of things. And, I always want to know how the technology works before I can do anything legal with it. So I've been playing around with it anyway. And I figured, why not try it out? See if we can do some deep fakes in games, which is not really what the software is meant to do. But we'll take a look and see how it worked today. So.
Absolutely, man. That's so cool. I think with the Legion, we like, even if we have to stitch things together from a whole bunch of free projects, we're going to get it done. And I think that kind of tenacity runs strong within this community.
Right.
So what we're going to do is just really quick get started and say hello to chat, because without chat, we would not be here. Professor Savage says, Savage Dad says, late and gay. Man, I was 1 minute late.
That was my fault. It was the audio. The audio is down on my end, so blame me. Blame someone.
No, I'm the host. It's all my fault. There you go. We got Wookie Be Bad. Hail, Wookie Be Bad, man. I just saw your Twitter post. Thank you for retweeting it, mate. We got Bad Take Tina. Bad Take Bojan. You keep switching it up on me, Tina. I don't know what to do. Good morning. Hail to you. Thanks for coming in. So what we're going to do, what programs do people need to get started in this? And my potato over computer can't handle it, but hopefully other people
could. I think it could. So
okay.
Yeah, I mean that's what's kind of fascinating is that a lot of the technology that I'm going to use, which is deepfake technology, it's open source. So I'm going to use Deepfake Labs. I use a AI app for creating kind of cartoon versions of videos, and then just regular screen grab technology. And I'll kind of show you how I do some of the stuff, but to get the initial videos that we're going to use to train the Fortnite video into putting Jeremy's face in there, that's all pulled off of my iPhone. I mean, I used a regular screen recorder that's on there, so nothing special. Everything's free. You should have a gaming computer to run it. You should have a decent graphics card. I don't have a decent graphics card, and it runs just fine, but we can talk about some of that stuff as I go through the video.
Okay, awesome. And chat, just so you know, feel free to ask any questions you may have regarding this subject. Don't ask me if a bear and a shark were to win, who would get in a fight, who would win, because I would say it depends on the area. But ask about what's going on with what we're covering. And for members, there are 2 spaces on the show. If you are a member, and I think it's the Optio level, there are 2 spaces. So if you want to hop in, ask questions, feel free. And thank you for being members. So I appreciate you. So Corey, let's get started with the first step of what people need to do.
All right, cool. I'm going to share so what I did was the actual process of rendering one of these videos or one of these memes takes some time. So what I've done is kind of put everything in a video so you can see what I was doing, and then we'll walk through the different steps. You can pause and follow along in the future. I'm also going to put an article out on my Substack that'll walk you through everything that we're doing today. But let me share this real quick.
And for those people who don't know what Substack is, can you let the people know? Because I'm a tiny bit familiar, but I'm not 100% certain what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like Medium, or it's essentially a blogging platform. So kind of the pop blogging platform right now. Hold on one second.
Okay, if you want, send me the link to it, and I'll put it in
Yeah.
the description, and that way people can go to it during or after or during the show.
Sure. Yeah, and it's just essentially a written up version of what I'm going to be showing today. So,
is it working? Yeah, patience. There you go.
okay. So I'm going to, again, this is a video that I'm showing of me doing the actual deepfake process for Fortnite using Jeremy's face. So I'll pause along the way. Some of it might be hard to see, but I'll do my best to read off what's going on and these sorts of things. So again, required software, all of it's free. Deepface Labs, I put the URL here, which isn't really helpful unless you can type really quick. We can drop that in the description, hopefully. Screen recorder, I use my built-in iPhone screen recorder. And then for the AI photo conversion, which we're not going to show on the video today because I actually did this on my phone, so there was no logical way for me to take it and put it into the training today. But I use something called Tune App. I think Tune App's like $4.99. I use the free version of it. That I think you get 7 days or something like that. But if you want to pay the $4.99, you can do that too. So let's get started with the video here. And give it a few seconds.
Hail, the Rogue Attraction says, good afternoon, folks. Afternoon. Some of us just woke up. Give me a break.
So let's take a look at this. Okay, so when you first download Deepface Lab, it's going to unpack. So you get it as a 7-zip file, which is a type of zip file. When you open that up, it's going to unpack on the desktop this folder called Deepface Lab. When you open that, you're going to see something very similar to what you see on the screen here, workspace, and then a bunch of different modules that you can execute. We're going to go through the ones that are relevant. It's a lot of stuff in here. Don't worry about it. You don't need to use a lot of it. This is all very simple. You don't have to have any programming experience or anything. There's some command line stuff that's really straightforward. It makes it really easy to do. Okay. So anyway, you open up the folder the first time, you're going to see something like this. What you're interested in from the get-go, not only, this is me scrolling through on the video, not on the stream. You're going to go into work. Yeah, you're going to see these folder, data destination and data source, and then the model. Those are all empty to start with. And I'll show you kind of how you start executing this stuff. So I have this assets folder here. These are all the different things we're going to be using for the stream today. I took a video, actually my son took a video of him playing Fortnite with the American Jonesy character. And then I have a video of Jeremy that was pulled off of his YouTube, which is one of his YouTube shorts. And we'll show you what that looks like and what videos you should choose and why you should choose certain videos for doing deepfakes. And by the way, today I'm doing everything as a Fortnite character. You can do this with real people too. In fact, I did one with Shad a few months ago. I've done them with Az and different things, putting them in all sorts of positions in videos that they don't want to be in. So. All right, so we're going to look first at this one. This is the YouTube video. I'm just going to play a real quick clip of it here. So this is one of Jeremy's YouTube shorts. Now, you're not going to be able to use a lot of what's in here. And what we're going to do is pull his image out of this video. As you can see, in that little clip that I showed there, much of his head was cut off. Now, later on in that video, he moves down, the camera pans down, and his head gets centered in the screen. And that's really what we're going to be focusing on because we need some decent grabs of his face and his head so that we can mimic that in the deepfake. Okay. So anyway, we drop this in here. There's a reason it's called data source because that's what the application understands. It knows to read that. So we're going to cut off this Jeremy reel and just make it data source. Okay. Next, we're going to take a look at this file this video I did of Fortnite. So you'll see the character that we're going to be replacing with Jeremy. And it's this Star-Spangled Trooper Jonesy character here from a few seasons ago. Relatively straightforward. We're just doing the lobby. You could do the whole game if you wanted, but just for now, just for argument's sake, we're doing the lobby. And by the way, when it comes to the deep fakes, again, we're making this data destination, data DST. That's going to allow the system to read it. When it comes to deep fakes, you can get as complex or as simple as you want. But okay, so next step here, we're going to go to this extract images video data source file. All of this comes pre-packaged when you download Deepfake Labs. It's pretty much in the same order. You're going to see it here unless you have a different version. I think this is the latest version that's out there. I don't know what the version number is at this point. Okay. Oh, one other quick thing. If you have a NVIDIA graphics card, there's a special package on Deepfake Labs just for that. That's what I was using. You can also use, I mean, they have different options there in terms of what video card you have. This is the one that worked best for me because of my card. Okay, so we're going to execute this extract images from video data source. Some of this is going to get a little bit painful because we got to wait for stuff to respond, but bear with me on it.
Okay, it's a good thing you took a video of it. And you
right, exactly. It would take hours if we didn't. So right now we're extracting the images from the source file. So this is from Jeremy's face, okay? Or we're getting Jeremy's the frames out of that video. Later, we're going to pull his face and his head out of the image into a separate package. All right. This will go pretty quickly here. And by the way, I fast forward a lot of this stuff in the video, so you don't have to wait for it to go through all 2,000 images or whatever the case.
And how long would it take without being fast forwarded?
Well, when it comes to the renders, and we'll get into that, they can take hours, right? But typically what you're doing is you're setting the system to render the model, and then you're walking away and you're doing something else, or you have it on a separate screen. So, okay, so we went through that. And what we've done is we've extracted all of the frames from Jeremy's YouTube short video right here, okay? And
by the way, if you can do that, you can also get some pretty good assets from it. I did not know you can do that. This is something I'm definitely going to be using now.
Right. Well, and I'll tell you what. So like with Ryan, for example, he has one YouTube short out there that's pretty decent. It's like 2 minutes long. He makes every facial expression that he possibly can make in that video. So what I've done is I took that, I extracted all of the frames from it. And then next you'll see we're going to extract all the faces. And you can just pretty much, anytime you want to make a meme of Ryan, you can just go to that folder, pull one of the faces out and drop it in wherever you want it. So we'll keep going here though. So yeah, this is real quick. I'm just showing you the images that were pulled out. You can see there's all sorts of things. There's all sorts of like this magnifying glass and stuff that we'll need to deal with, but I'll kind of explain how I dealt with that in this video. So next one, we're going to look at the data source, or I'm sorry, the data destination. So we have to do the same thing with the data destination file. We're going to extract the images from that. Okay.
I do apologize, people. My camera is off. I am drinking an energy drink right now because I got to wake up.
And a lot of the settings, like here you see, we're going to leave it as PNG. You can change that if you want to. It's not really necessary. Most of the default settings work for what we're doing here today. So you don't have to go in. There's a lot of stuff you're going to see and you're going to go, what the hell does all this stuff mean? You don't really have to worry about it. Once you start getting real serious about deepfakes, we can talk about that, or, you can look it up online. I learned all this stuff looking on YouTube for the most part and just playing around with it. But that's any software really, you just got to play around with. So this is going to render real quick. I promise you, I fast forward through these things later. I don't want to do it right now just because I don't want to skip too far ahead in the video. So just give them some time to get through this.
Is it going or is it paused? Because it seems paused.
No, it's going. You can see the numbers count here. Yeah, sorry. Unfortunately, these first few where it's just pulling the images out, I didn't fast forward through it for the video. So,
oh yeah, no worries, no worries. It's good for everybody to see what they're in for when they're waiting.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, it's really something you want on a separate screen. Like a lot of times, I'll be working. I'm making a meme on one screen. I'm working on the other. When I do real sophisticated deepfakes, I let them run overnight. Now, I have like a liquid-cooled computer, so you don't want to do that if you're using a laptop or something like that. You'll end up burning your house down. So, okay, so this one finished. We're going to go in and take a look at what it produced, and then we're going to pull the faces out of it. So we go to the data destination, and you can see now we have broken down each frame of the Jonesy, Star Spangled Jonesy video that we had. And you can see kind of what that looks like. So what we're going to be doing is swapping out Jeremy's image for this one in here. And we'll get into that.
And we chose this one because we wanted to get it as close to G.I. Joe as possible for Jeremy.
Well, and I had some, I'm going to pause the video for a second. I had some decent military ones, right? And I don't know, I just thought this one looked best with him. You know, I'm considering doing like a player versus player, Ryan versus Jeremy battle at some point, but we'll get to that. It's not going to be today, that's for sure.
Oh, that would be really cool. Have Jeremy's screaming from the Mario Kart in there as well.
Right. Well, and I also considered swapping them out for Mario Kart, but as you'll see, it might be difficult just because the imagery and how the style of the animation has to be pretty similar, which is again another reason why. Well, you'll see how we get into how the AI developed Jeremy's face. But okay, so let's take a look at this. We're going to pull out the faces now, and this is a face set extract of Jeremy's face. So we're going to use just real quick with these settings. So this is my graphics card, not the best one in the world. It's capable of doing this. It's going to default to 0. You're selecting the CPU. If you have more than one CPU, they're all going to be listed here, and you can pick which one. I just hit enter, 0. Okay, face type. So what do we want to pull out? We have F, WF, and head. F and WF, if we were just doing a deep fake where I wanted to swap the face of somebody out, which I've done in the past in memes, I would select one of those. We're going to do a whole head extract today because we want to take Jeremy's entire head out and we want to replace it with Jones, or we're going to replace Jonesy's head with Jeremy's head. So we're going to swap this to head. You got to remember to do that. If you don't, it's not going to render properly when you're doing a whole head extract. Okay. Let's get moving on this. All right. We don't want to worry about things like max number of faces. Image size, you can leave it the default. That's 768. JPEG quality, that's interesting. So I actually leave this at 90 purposely. I don't want the quality to be too high because the render doesn't look good. You don't, especially when it comes to video games where it's kind of muted in the first place. It's a little bit blurry in the first place. If the render of your face extract is too clear, it's not going to look decent. You're going to have to do a lot more processing on the back end. So, and then the right debug thing you don't have to worry about. All right, we're going to extract the faces. I think I fast forwarded this one. I hope I did. I don't want you guys to have to sit here live waiting for 1,716 images to render. Yeah, so it's going faster now. So the fastest I could get was 16 times speed. So you'll have to bear with that.
So just a quick question. You can use this on the Fortnite characters that you have, but you theoretically can use this on almost any video if you wanted to. Any game,
any video, anything. Yeah, this software is amazing. You know, like I've done live videos. I think at one point I patched Shad into like some knife commercial or something like that and made it look like he was hawking knives and sold out or something like that. I've done all sorts of different things with like live videos. When it comes to like video games, again, any video game you have access to, you could patch a character in, you can patch anyone in you want. I picked Fortnite just because it was available. I actually don't really play Fortnite very much. I love the game. My kids play it, but not me. So, okay. So we got
just a quick question as well. If people, because I know facial hair is sometimes a problem with these kind of deep fakes. Do you find yourself having that issue as well?
No. And if you look at the one I did of Gary, the one that kind of set this whole thing up was I did a deep fake of Gary into the caster skin. What was it, last Friday, I think. And I mean, that one was interesting because Caster has a hood. Caster has kind of a bushy beard. Gary's beard's more trimmed and narrow. And obviously he's not wearing a hood all the time. So you have to, and we'll get to the part where you have to clip around these sorts of things. And you can kind of focus on what you want the model to look at when it's doing the replacement. So beards really aren't an issue. In that one, I thought it turned out really good in terms of kind of managing Gary's beard and swapping out Castor's beard, which Castor kind of looked like Santa Claus, and that's not quite how Gary looks. So, okay, here. So now you're seeing the different faces that we've extracted from Jeremy here, okay? I think off screen, hold on a second. Let me see where this video goes. Yeah, that's a terrible one to look at, but let's go through. All right. So you'll see you have things up here like a magnifying glass, a camera. The software is smart enough to allow you to extract those types of those like interferences with the face. I'm not going to do it here because it doesn't really matter in the end, especially because the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to have the AI take Jeremy's face and create a comic version of it, which is what's going to allow us to swap it out seamlessly with the video game. All right. So let's take a look at this. That's just me pointing that out.
And for anybody who's watching in the replay or anybody who's watching now, feel free to, like, once you learn this stuff, feel free to make stuff, because the Legion is always happy to see people improving their skills. So, I mean, we're not at a place where we can do any competitions or anything like that, but hopefully one day we'll get there. And I would love to see what you can create by your own merit.
Yeah, and if you have any questions or anything, feel free to DM me on Twitter. That's probably the easiest way to get a hold of me. I mean, like I said, I'm not an expert in any of this stuff. I was just messing around with it for fun, created a few things that people thought were funny, and you know, here we go. But okay, so now we're going to pull out the from the destination file. This is Jonesy's face set extract. We're going to do the exact same thing we did with Jeremy here. And this will take a little bit. I think I fast forward through the rendering. Same thing. You're picking your CPU. You want to type in. Always want to type in head when you're doing a full head replacement. Otherwise, it's not going to work. 768 fine. 90 fine. We're going to extract the faces. And away we go. Now this one's going to be a little bit different, and this is what you're going to have to deal with all the time when it comes to, let me see if I can actually skip the extract. Yeah, okay. So let's go up. Wait, what just happened? Uh-oh. Hold on one second. I think I screwed it up. There we go.
Yeah, let it run. So it's all good.
Yeah, I was trying to fast forward through it, and I think I fast forwarded too far.
Yeah, I get there. Sometimes when I do the meme tutorial videos,
I think I picture everyone sitting out there going, "Good Lord, it's taking forever." So, okay. Anyway, so we didn't see at the end there. The video actually cut off when I was filming this. But one of the things you're going to want to do is there were different faces in that Fortnite video, right? So if you look back, and if you look back at the video, there's different characters that were presented when we were in the when we were selecting the Jonesy character. All that stuff is going to show up in the face extract, and you want to go through and delete those faces, because what you don't want the model to do is try to take Jeremy's face and patch it over all the other characters in there. So you want to focus, when you get that face extract, you get that folder of all the different faces. Go through and delete anything that's not the one that you want, not the face that you want to work with. Okay. All right. Let's see where we go next here. Okay. So now off screen, and I'm not showing it to you here because there was no way for me to do this. I took Jeremy's folder of face extracts, and I picked, I think, 40 decent images. So we're talking about like ones with him looking left, ones with him looking right, up, down, different facial expressions, just kind of a good sample of his faces. And then I dropped that onto my phone. I ran it through the Tune app and it essentially created a comic book version of each of those images of his face. I then took those comic book images and I put them into Clipchamp and created a new video of it. I'm going to show you what that video looks like, because the only Deepface Labs only works with videos. You know, it would be great if I could have taken those comic images and just dropped them into the source folder, and Deepface Lab picks it up and processes everything. But it needs everything to be rendered in the form of a video. So once I had those extracts of images, like which we'll see, I drop them into Clipchamp, create a video of just the images in a row, and then we're going to run an extract again. So that's what I'm doing here is I'm taking this Jeremy AI source file, and I'm going to drop it over here, and we'll play the video.
So just a quick question. You had to do that for each individual picture. So you had to tune every single picture and then put it in a video?
Yeah, no, but it only takes a few seconds. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
You just run all 40 of them through the app, and it just spits them out. And you'll see right here. I'm going to delete the. Well, this is just me showing.
And the consistency kind of stays the same.
Yep, you'll see right here. I'm going to go through. So these are each of the. So I took different, different facial expressions, different ways he's looking, these sorts of things through this entire video. That's what we got out of it. And that's what we're going to use to train the model. Now, I stopped here in the actual video. I'm going to pause it. AI hates Jeremy apparently because it really does a horrible job on his ears. If you look back through these, it always gives him these massive ears. And I tried everything. I ran it multiple times and it would not do that. It just wanted to give him huge ears. But I'll show you how we remove that later because, I like the guy. I don't want him to look like this, right? But yeah, so that's just a video of the different images I made through Clipchamp. We're going to delete out the name here so it's data source. And then we're going to go through the same process that we did for his YouTube short video, which is going to let us, you'll see. One second here. We're going to extract
just real quick. Hail, Ken, thanks for coming in. I know it's a surprise stream, so everybody who's here, I appreciate you.
Yeah, and if you're coming in late, you're going to have no idea what's going on. So feel free to go back and look at this stuff. So again, we're going to extract all of these images the same way we did last time, except this time we're getting the AI rendered, what we call comic images. At least that's what it's called in the app of Jeremy's face. So I'm fast forwarded through that stuff, but you can take a look now. There you go. We got a new face set of him. And a lot of them are duplicates. That's fine. You want duplicate images because the model uses those to train kind of the matching and the masks and things, and we'll get into what that looks like later. But when you see duplicates, don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Again, we want to extract the entire head. We don't care about all these values. They're set to defaults, and we go through the same process of extracting the faces. We get to the fun stuff next, so don't worry.
Corey, do you have a YouTube where people can check out your content as well?
I don't. I'm just on Twitter at Corey Bieber. So CoreyBieber. I haven't done YouTube. My daughter has a YouTube channel. So in the video here, you're seeing the face extract of each of these. Maybe I'll do a YouTube channel someday. I don't know. I don't know if I have time for it. But yeah, so we've pulled everything out. And by the way, you can see here, actually in the video, these like black blur up here and this white rim blur, that's the magnifying glass and whatever the other image was that was interfering with the pictures that we put into the AI. The reason I wasn't, if it showed up as a magnifying glass and it was on his forehead or something like that, I'd be concerned with that. But I don't really think this is disturbing the image enough for anything. So, we can just kind of go forward with what we had there. That's what I was thinking when I was going through this process. All right. So
we already got Professor Savage Dad saying he's going to download this when he gets home. I love it.
Yeah, and if we can drop the link to the SourceForge for Deepfake.
Yeah, just DM it to me on Twitter and I'll throw it in the description.
Cool. All right. Okay, so the next thing we got to do is we got to train the model, right? And the model doesn't inherently know what is a face. There are ways of doing that. It doesn't work as well with whole head models. We have to use something called XSEG. So if I was just swapping out the face, I wouldn't have to go through this process. You could essentially take a pre-trained model, apply it to what you're trying to do, and it automatically understands what a face is, and it'll swap them out. But because we want the whole head, we have to actually draw the just a few of these. You don't have to do many, and they don't even really have to be very accurate. Now, in this video, I'd already drawn some of these. I didn't want to go through the entire process of showing you each image that I drew or anything like that. I'm going to draw one in the video just so you can get a sense for what it looks like. But you want 5 or 6, right? You want to draw around the face, and I'll show you how we do that. Looking different directions, different facial expressions, so that the model can understand what exactly the head is, or I should say draw around the head. I said face. It needs to know what exactly the head is in the image, so it can apply a mask to it, which is going to port over to the other video. So we're going to do this one first. You can see me drawing here. Doesn't have to be very accurate, doesn't take a lot of time. You can go through one of these in a few, like 30 seconds, essentially, once you got good at it. I'm doing it slow here just because I wanted to give you a sense of what it looked like. One of the things you're going to want to focus on is the ears. You don't have to be too specific on the other things, but when you get to the ear, you can zoom in and just kind of draw around like that, right? And you get good at it. Like I said, you get really good at it pretty quickly. So not a lot of points necessary. At the end, you're going to connect to the, and again, don't worry about so much, getting right at the edge of the hairline or getting any of these features of the hair in. It's not going to matter in the end when we swap things out. Okay, so now I'm just scrolling through the different images here. I just realized that there we go. Now you can see the bar at the bottom of the screen. There I drew one around a face where he's looking to the right. You want to get a few in each of the directions and these sorts of things. Okay. So now we're going to go through, we're going to do the same thing for Jeremy's face. Okay. But one of the things we were concerned with, again, this is where we're going to deal with the ears issue, right? So again, AI doesn't like Jeremy's ears, so we have to get rid of them. So what I'm going to do in this image, and we'll take a look at it, is I'm going to draw within the ear to make it a little bit smaller, and you can see how that renders in the end. So there's his face. You could see on that one there, I know we flashed past it really quick, how I kind of cut the ear down. See, it's going fast, but we'll draw one, and then you can kind of see more or less what it looks like.
Yeah, I can see you're cropping out a tiny bit of the ear to make it more
to make it look a little more realistic. Yeah. All right. So here we're going to draw one. This again, you want samples of him looking to the left, samples of him looking to the right, looking forward, just different expressions, these sorts of things, so the model can start to understand what exactly it needs to deal with. And it looks like it takes a lot of time. It really doesn't. I mean, this all goes pretty quick. The longest thing you're going to be doing when creating one of these is waiting for the model to render, and you do that while drinking coffee or going to another room or doing your job or something like that. See, here I'm drawing.
Or watching an episode of the Legion of Memers live stream.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yesterday, actually, I was doing it while I was doing this. I was watching you guys. So, right.
I love that.
So, okay, we got through that. Let's see. Okay, next we got to train the mask, okay, or train the model. So this is the XSEG model. So what we have to do is train the system to understand, train the model to understand, how to apply the different faces. So you go to train, and sometimes it takes a little while for it to start up. And again, it's heavyweight software, so sometimes it'll take some processing to get things going. Hold on a second. So, okay, when you get to this point, it's going to say press enter. Again, we're picking our CPU. I only have one, so I pick what I have, which is the GTX 1660 Super. When it says press enter in 2 seconds to override the model settings, we want to do that, okay? And I'm going to show you some of the settings that you'll have to change here. So it's asking me if I want to restart the training. You're not going to see that. The only reason it's asking me that here is because I'm using a model. I already ran through this in the interest of creating a video that wasn't 10 hours long or something like that. I ran through everything, and then I went back and redid it with the models as they already existed. So you're not going to see this setting, but it's not going to matter. Don't worry about that. I'm going to say, yes, I want to restart the training. That way we don't have to start over from scratch. And we want head. You always want to type in head. Batch size 4. That's going to be dependent on your GPU, okay, and how much RAM you have. So it says 2 to 16. I don't know the specs on the computer I was using. I can get them, but 4 is reasonable. So, and by the way, if you put the batch size too high and it's too much for your graphics card to handle, it's going to warn you and tell you can't do it. Then you just back that down. Enable pre-training mode. I'm going to click no. At some point, I'd love to talk to you guys about pre-training and what that looks like when you're using actual faces and not trying to do video game renders. But for now, we'll just do no, and I won't explain it. So we're going to go through this stuff. I think it fast forwarded it as quickly as I possibly could. There we go. Okay, so this is what it's going to start doing, right? I'm going to pause here. So it's trying to get a sense of what the mask looks like on each of these images. And it's going to go through all the Jonesy images. It's going to go through all the Jeremy images, etc. And what you want to do is you want around 600 iterations. So you see these numbers are counting up here. They were counting up really fast because we were fast forwarding. It's going to go much slower than that when you're actually looking at when you're actually running this on your machine, right? But just for an initial render, we want this to hit 600. Okay. Now, because we're dealing with cartoons, 600 is going to work really well. If this was an actual human face human head we were dealing with and we were swapping 2 heads out, it's not going to render perfectly the first time. You're going to have to go through multiple renders. But for now, we just go up to 600 and I'll show you what it looks like in the end. And again, I'm going to type all this stuff up, drop it into Substack. So if it's confusing or you're like, what the heck did he mean? You can go back and take a look at that. So now we're going to reopen the mask editor, the data source mask editor here. Xseg, you can see it's 5.xseg data source editor. And it takes some time because it's graphics heavy. There you go. Okay. So now what we want to look at is we're going to click up in the right-hand corner. There's this mask button. Okay. We want to see how accurately the model picked out what was Jeremy's head. So you can see there, that's one that we drew. So obviously it's going to have done it well, but these are all the other images. You'll see here, we didn't draw anything around this. It's just guessing based on the drawings that we gave it, where the head is. And you can see it's cut the ear off here. So it's doing a pretty good job about reducing his massive ears. Poor Jeremy. And there you go. We go through. Now, if it, for some reason, if say, for example, like I'm going to pause it right here. You're running this model and like this, you see how it's shadow here and it's light here. The light part is obviously where it's drawing around the head. The shadow is the part that's cutting out and saying this isn't head. But let's just say, for example, this ear here, like, oh no, we actually wanted that in here. You could go back and redraw this mask. So anywhere you see an application of the mask that's not drawn around the head completely, you can go back and redraw it, and then you can retrain the model, run another 600 iterations, go back, take a look at it again. It's really only going to apply when you're dealing with actual faces and actual heads. It's not going to apply in the when you're dealing with like cartoons or comic versions or video game versions. The model's pretty damn accurate when it comes to rendering these sorts of things, as you can see here. It pretty much got it spot on, right? See there, I'm showing like it drew around the way the ear was. All right. Okay, cool. So then we're going to take a look at we're going to do the same thing. This time we're looking at data_dst mask edit. This is 5.xseg again. And we're going to run the same thing on Jonesy's face. And again, it takes a little bit of time for it to start up. All this comes pre-baked with like all these editors and everything. It's in the folder that you get when you download Deepfake Labs. So
okay. They already have it set up for you.
Yeah. I mean, you're following these steps. You're going, you extract the frames, you extract the faces, You run it through Xseg to create the face models that we're doing right here, or the whole head models that we're doing here. You just go step by step. Everything's already set up for you. There's a couple configuration settings. I talked about some of them. Those get a little bit more complicated when we create the final render, but I'll kind of go through that slowly. So again, you can see here, it did a pretty good job of applying the mask, right? You know, if you didn't like something like, hold on, let me see if I can pause it at one that's a little bit off.
Is it because it has a clearer background? Like, let's say if you had a different background, it like sometimes they do have issues. Is it because the black background is blue that it's more clear?
Yeah, I think there's two things. One, I think because it's a drawing, it's not as nuanced as a human face, right? So, for example, if like I have a beard, like you were talking about beards earlier, like if you just took my face and you dropped it in here, there's all sorts of scraggly stuff. It's going to get confused by that. So you'll see like here, you can kind of see the mask pulled up over his chin a little bit. I'm not worried about that. It's not going to create a problem for this model, but like you'll see often, like for me, if it was my face, I have a beard, it might come up pretty high. You might see it like way over the chin. You want to redraw that. And here in this example, what I'm showing on the screen is you can see how it kind of missed his head a little bit here, right? So if you really were concerned about it, if you wanted to do a real professional job, you go back and redraw this mask. You essentially click around, make sure that this place where it cut off his head was included in the mask, retrain the model another 600 iterations or so, and then go through the whole process again. So it doesn't take a lot of time. I know it seems like it does, but it doesn't. Okay. All right, so this is just showing how the mask is applied. All right, we're good. Okay, so the next thing we want to do, and this is where we get into actually putting Jeremy into the video game. Okay, we're going to go to merge SAEHD. There's all sorts of merge options here, and you know, if you want to be a professional deepfake artist, you can go and study about what those do. For our purposes, for the purposes of making goofy memes, the SAEHD model is going to be the one that you want to go for. And I know there's purists out there who are going to see this video and they're going to say, what the hell is he talking about? No, it should be AMP and all these things. And no. All right. So this is where configuration settings matter. So you can see here, it says choose one of the saved models, and you'll see there's one called Jeremy Latest. Now, when you go into this for the first time, it's not going to say Jeremy Latest or anything else. It's going to ask you to name the model. The reason it says Jeremy Latest is, again, because I already ran this model, and just for the purposes of this video, we're rerunning everything just to make it go quicker. So I named this model Jeremy. So that's what it's saying. The latest model was Jeremy. Do you want to apply that? So it's, you know, number 0 essentially that I'm applying. But I am going to go through the configuration settings with you. All right, this is just me in the video pausing so I can explain that. I tried to be mindful when I was doing the video. Corey, you're going to have to be talking here. So, okay, we're picking our CPU. Again, same one that we always pick. You know, you might have more than one. Pick the one that works best for you. Okay, here again, hit enter within 2 seconds. You want to do that. Now I'm going to walk through some of these configuration settings. Auto backup, if you're planning on letting this thing run for like 8 hours or something, and you don't have to do that here. But if you're doing like a longer video or it's more complicated and you're using real faces and you're switching more than one person at the same time, you know, I've let them run for 10, 12 hours at a time. You're going to want auto backup just in case something fails. You can always default back to wherever you were.
So it is possible to take that time and break it up into like...
Oh yeah. In fact, if you're running the model, like, so yesterday when I was running this model, I think it might have taken like an hour or something, but in the middle of the model, I had to go do something and I didn't want to run it while I wasn't there. I was leaving the house. I don't want it running when I'm not there because it could run for 2 or 3 hours and I didn't need it to run for 2 or 3 hours. So I just stopped the model. I went, did whatever I need to do. I came back, hit run again. It picked up where it left off. And, you know, you see right here, it's saying this was essentially the same thing we're doing right now, where it already had a model built and it was just running on top of that. So preview history, just leave that to the default settings. Target iteration, leave that to the default section or settings. Flip source faces randomly. You want to set this to yes. Okay. And that's going to allow it to rotate the faces, like switch them back and forth essentially, so that if you have something that's not facing the right direction or something like that.
So it'll do the left to right stuff automatically.
Right, exactly. So you don't have to worry about having different directions and of him looking in these things. Same with destination faces. Batch size, again, I set mine to 8. It's dependent on your GPU. If you set it wrong, it's going to let you know. It's going to say, I can't do this. So this is a mask training. You want to set that to yes. We created those masks. We want them to apply. So you say yes. Mouth and eyes priority, because it's a video game and everything's kind of blurry in the first place. We're not worried about that. Now, if he was talking, like, so if I was doing a real video where he was talking or something like that, you may want to set this to yes, because you want the mouth to track. You want the eyes to track and these sorts of things. We're not doing that today. So we're going to set it to no. And I think it's default to no anyway. A lot of this stuff you don't have to care about. So uniform yaw distribution, don't worry about it. Blur, don't worry about it. Just leave the preset settings. It'll all be set to this. You do want to, the add a belief optimizer, you're going to want to set this to yes. Okay. I'm not going to bother trying to explain why you do that, but it's important. So do it. So,
do as I say.
Yeah, it's to go through and kind of go through it. It would take too long. But your learning rate, you want to leave that as is. Enable random warp samples, leave that as is. Again, it's going to all be set this way. The light intensity and these sorts of things, that's all going to be relevant later when we start modifying the mask after it's been generated. Okay. For example, this color transfer thing here, that's very important for making it look realistic in the end, matching the animation styles and these sorts of things. Pre-training mode, you want this set to no. Again, like I said, because we're using a model that we created, you can use a pre-trained model and they're publicly available. I can give you some websites you can go out to where people have trained a million iterations of faces and stuff, and you can just drop that into your model when you're doing like real face renders. Like if I was going to swap my face out with Elon Musk or something like that, you can go out and get pre-trained models. They'll make it really easy to do that. They also have packages out there where they've taken stars like Harrison Ford and already trained masks of him, so you don't have to go through the process of doing it. Not relevant to us today. If you want to learn more about it, you want to talk about it, just DM me. We can go through it. So we're saying that to no.
And do these iterations, are these free or paid or like how do people?
Everything's free. It's all community supported. So.
That's what I really like about this is that everybody's working together and it's not, one person over the other. It's everybody's taking a skill that they have, mixing it in and throwing it in there. I really appreciate that.
No, entirely, man. The more the merrier, that's the way I look at it with these sorts of things. So, okay. So what you're going to see here, so when you first run this model, okay, you're not going to get this, like you can see that it comes up and it shows how it's matching the faces, right? Now, what's interesting is whereas we had a lot of Jeremy looking to I guess he's looking to the left here. We don't have a lot of him looking to the right. Like you can see it matched over here on the far right. He's kind of looking to the right, not really. So the model was kind of struggling with that. And when we see the video in the end, I'll explain how that plays out. Like if you don't have one-to-one matches on the images and these sorts of things. When you first start running this, you can see down here, it's counting up. I don't know if you can see where I'm pointing on the screen. Yeah, I guess you can. It says it's at 20,621. So I ran this model for 20,000 iterations before I stopped it. And I did that before, I did it yesterday, essentially. This is just it picking up where it left off. So if I hit play, you're going to see this number counting up. It originally started at 0. Originally, when you looked at this screen here where it's showing the matching of the faces and it's trying to map them over to each other, it was a mess. Like they didn't match at all. And these blue and yellow bars were pretty far apart. What you want to see is those kind of compress on top of each other at this is at the end of the matching. So it's matched pretty well. This is a pretty good compression. But in the beginning, it's not going to look like that. It's going to look like a blue bar way at the top, a yellow bar way at the bottom, and as it matches, they'll come closer together. 20,000 iterations with my GPU, I want to say it took an hour, 2 hours, something like that. You don't have to sit there with it. You can pause it and walk away. You can run it in the background while you're working. You know, whatever you need. If it's not like a video game mod like we're doing today, and if it's an actual face, you might need 200,000 iterations. It could take overnight or something like that. But anyway, that's not what we're doing today. So
just real quick, I want to give a shout out to Kendon. He says, this is awesome. I was really wondering how to do this. Going to be watching this a few times. Absolutely. Make sure to tag Corey. I did put his Twitter in the description. Make sure to tag Corey. Make sure to hashtag and at the Legion of Memers. We love seeing people learn new things. If we're not growing, then we're just a bunch of lazy bums. So just even if you're not sure how to do it 100%, you know, Corey will definitely give you feedback. And remember, all feedback is typically constructive criticism. If you can't handle the feedback, I wouldn't recommend asking. But you know, just remember, everything we do in this community is not criticism, but it's constructive criticism. So just always keep that in mind when people talk about your memes, at least within the Legion.
Right. Well, I'll tell you, I've put hours into some memes and had them completely fall flat. You know, I put them out there, I get a handful, you know, and it's like what the hell, you know? I put my heart into this thing, you know, and then I've had other things where it was like whatever, I just slapped something together in 5 minutes and it went viral, you know. So it's crazy, but yeah, if you have questions, DM. So sorry, go for it.
No, go ahead, please.
I was gonna say, if you have questions, DM me. You know, I can point you to where I learned, like training sites and stuff like that. If you have deeper questions, or if you want to be serious about it or something. What we're doing today is just playing around. You know, a lot of these settings and stuff, you know, it takes trial and error, and you learn. But you can use it for other stuff. You don't have to do just memes with it. You can do all sorts of different videos and that sort of thing. So it's a good skill.
I mean, we always want to see creativity out there, and whatever you want to do. I mean, if Corey, I'm sure you know the Corridor crew if you're into all of this.
Right.
They're making their own anime with you know, some of these programs. So remember that your imagination is basically what's going to take you as far as you need to go. So just remember, your imagination is infinite. So don't feel bashful about making things.
Right. Cool. All right, so we finished this. So at the end, what you do is you hit enter, and you get back into this screen. Press any key to continue. You can see all of our configuration settings are listed on the screen, and it's going to take an hour or two, you know, to run that. You walk away, you get a cup of coffee, you do whatever you want. The next thing we're going to do. Hold on one second. Did we jump back somehow? That's interesting. Looks like we're repeating the same thing here. Run in. Oh, sorry. No. We're running an interactive merger. Okay. So now when the first time the model renders, it's not going to look perfect. Okay. Oddly enough, this one rendered pretty bad. Okay. And I had to make some changes, which is a good thing from a training perspective because you can see what it takes to make changes. I've run these things with like real, and some of that has to do with I only ran the model for 20,000 iterations. If I ran it for 100,000, it probably would have looked a lot better. I've run, you know, deepfake models where I was using actual faces, actual heads for 200,000 iterations. When it finished, it looked perfect. I had to do nothing. But in this one, you know, it's a little bit sloppy. What you're going to see, so we go into this interactive merger, which you saw me click on that previously. You can jump back in the video if you want. And we're going to want to select, yes, we want to run the interactive merger. We're going to set the number of workers to 12. That has to do with your CPU. It's going to run some stuff here where it's loading up the images, but you can see what the initial render looks like. You're going to get this. Also, it gave me a multiple faces detected. Don't worry about that. Just hit yes. It's again, it was looking at the different skins that I had available in Fortnite and thinking that those were different faces and stuff, but we're not worried because we deleted them earlier. Okay. Now, again, you're not going to get used to save session the first time because I'm running a saved version of this just for the purposes of the training. Okay, cool. So you get this screen. Again, this stuff all comes pre-baked with Deepface Lab. All of this like modification stuff that you need to do this is already in there. So you don't have to worry about going out and getting different things. It takes a little time to get used to, okay? So one thing I want to point out is like, well, I'll get to it in a little bit. So this is the different options you have for modifying the images that are on the screen. And again, here, it's going to look kind of crappy to begin with. And I'm just kind of showing all this stuff here in the video. Okay, so what I did was there, I clicked the tab button, which swaps to the video itself. So that's what we're going to look at right now. You see.
Oh, that's really cool. So after it's done, you can like automatically go to watch it and
yeah. So you go frame by frame through the video here, and you can make sure that everything rendered correctly. Now, the final video that I put out, it's not going to include like this screen, for example. We don't need this. This was just part of the video, but you can clip that stuff out in ClipJam. It's not going to include this screen either. You can see, look, it didn't render the face down here. There's the caster skin, by the way, that we used for Gary last week. You can see his face pops in and stuff. It's all goofy in the beginning. You can see when he like that doesn't look good. I'm not worried about that because we're gonna get into the so now it's starting to look better. Okay. Let me get into the lobby real quick. You can see what that looks like. Okay. So this is what the final render looks like. All right. And I think it looks pretty decent, but it didn't start out this way. Again, because we're using the files that I had already run, the model that I had already run kind of for the interest of training, it's not showing you what it originally looked like. So over here are all the different settings that you have to modify the face. So in this video, what I'm going to do is reset it to what it actually looked like when the render finished the first time. And it looks horrible. And then I'm going to walk through how I set it to get, or I got it to where it is now, where it looks pretty decent, I think, in the end.
You know, I was sitting there wondering why you were cutting out the hat. I was like, why would you do that? And now I see the reason why you cut out the hat, because the hat is now part of the character as well.
Where and in the Gary video, and when I'm talking about the Gary video, I think it was last Friday I tweeted out, and Legion of Memers retweeted it. I did the same thing for Gary where I dropped him into the caster skin. In that one, I had to actually cut out his hair because caster wears a hood, and I wanted to keep the hood, right? So in that process, so that would be like, for example, if this character, you know, he's got like a bandana, say that was up over his head, and it was covering the actual Fortnite character's head, I would have wanted to have cut out around Jeremy's face and just cut out the hat, cut underneath the hat. That way, when it rendered, it put just that portion in, and it kept like the hood or whatever he was wearing, or if he already had a hat that I liked and I wanted to keep that. Okay. So we're going to reset all these values back to what they originally looked like, and you're going to see his face kind of change as we do that. This is me going back and remembering what I need to hit. Like this is for toggling up different things. I'll pause when I get back to the screen. All right. Yeah, so his face was small like this. And then the color transfer was weird. Okay, so then that's back to the 0 setting. Hold on. And again, there it is. Sorry, I'm dealing with a video that's already recorded, so it's flipping back and forth, and I don't have any control over it. So we're gonna make it.
No worries. Just a quick question: Do you have the shortcuts on a different monitor while you're doing what you need to do, or do you just pull the shortcuts up when you?
You mean
forget?
that gray screen, like the gray screen that we're flipping up, where it shows like Yeah, no. So there's no way to do that, right? Because everything's in this same interactive merger. So you just have to keep hitting the tab button. And it'll every time I hit tab, it swaps back to the gray screen that shows those shortcuts. So I know a lot of the key, like what the key bindings are already, so I don't have to flip back and forth all the time. When it flips back, I'll stop and kind of walk you through some of what those mean. But when you modify things using those shortcuts, you're going to see these numbers change over here. And I'll probably do that right now. All right. What is going on? Oh, there we go. Okay. So this is the number. So this is what it looked like. Come on, Corey. You can't hit pause fast enough. So now we're going to reset everything. See there, I'm flipping back and forth between what the final version looked like. You can see the numbers over here. The blur mask modifier is 30. The face scale is -17. We've picked MKL-M as a color transfer. And then I'm going to flip back and it goes back to the original. And you can kind of see the face flipping back and forth. So I'm going to pause here. Okay. So here are all your different options. All this stuff means a lot of things that I don't understand. And to be honest with you, it's trial and error, right? So one of the things we needed to be concerned with, if you looked at what the original model looked like after I reset all the values to 0, his head was way too small, right? So we want to look at the face scale. We want to move that up and down. It was too sharp, like, so the outside of his face was too sharp. So we want to blur the mask a little bit. We want to kind of soften the edges. The color didn't quite look right. This is the color transfer mode. They have different options for that. You can kind of toggle through them. But at the end of the day, you just got to play around with the size of the face. You got to play around with the blur and try to make it fit as best as possible. Again, if I had run this for more than 20,000 iterations, I would probably not have to do any of this, right? But just from the interest of doing this for an educational thing, you know, it didn't make sense to run it too long. I've done it where I've run 200,000 iterations and it looked perfect the first time. But again, I think this is useful because it shows you, you know, the different things that you can do to modify the face on the screen. Okay. So the reason in the video there I'm kind of hovering over the M and the question mark is you don't have to do this. So we have what, 1,700 images or something like that. It's a lot of different images. You don't have to go through and do it to each one. These buttons here allow you to modify one of the faces and then just apply it to the rest of the faces. So you don't have to go through.
Oh, that's nifty.
Yeah. So that works out pretty cool. Anyway. Okay. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through and apply these settings to that past image by, I think I hit M or something, which wrote it back. And now you can see the original image looks like the one that we wanted in the end. Still doesn't look too good. I mean, it's okay, but when the video renders at the end, you'll see kind of how it pulls everything together and makes it look decent. All right. So we got it where we want it. Escape, that gives us quit and save. Okay. Hopefully that's what I'm doing next here. Done. Okay, I hit enter. Now we want to create the MP4. So we go merge to MP4. And this again is ultimately what you publish on YouTube or whatever you want to do with it, right? And I think I fast forward through this takes a little bit of time. It takes about maybe 10 minutes to render the image or render the video. And if you have a longer video, it's going to take a really long time to render it.
So what would you recommend? Like, if people wanted to make their own video, would you recommend doing short videos and creating short scenes and then putting them together?
Right. Well, okay. So take, for example, if I had, like, say I wanted to take a scene out of like Mission Impossible and I wanted to swap out Tom Cruise with myself, right? You know, I'm only really concerned when Tom Cruise is looking at the camera, right? So because that's when you can see it's him and not me, right? So typically what I would do is I would drop the entire video into some sort of video editing. I use Clipchamp because it's free. There's all sorts of stuff out there. Clipchamp is by far not the best for doing this stuff, but I don't want to spend a lot of money on these things, so that's what I go with. So I would just go through and clip out all the scenes. Like I take a specific scene of Tom Cruise I clip out anytime you could see his face, and then I would run each of those individually against the model. And then I would stitch it back together with the scenes where like you can't see him. There's a car exploding here, or whatever the case is. So that's typically how I'd run those models, like longer models. Yeah. Or for example, if we want to do, like we said at the beginning of the video, I'd love to do something where, you know, Ryan and Jeremy are PvP battling each other in Fortnite. You're not always going to see their faces when that's going on. So I'm only going to clip out, like if we play a game, we have them battle, you know, two characters battling each other. I'm only going to clip out the ones where you can see the faces and edit those. The rest of the stuff you can leave as is. It makes it much quicker. So, okay, so we've rendered our MP4. I'm going to click whatever key to continue, and you'll see, what is it now? You will see, apparently I was confused when I was filming this. Okay, there we go. You get this result file. You can click on that. It's going to run it through whatever your video service is. Okay, I'm going to skip ahead because, again, I don't care so much about this beginning stuff here, but this is what the end video ends up looking like. And I think this got pretty good. Now, I want to point a few things out. You can see how his head kind of moves, right, with the character, right? Now, remember back when we were drawing the masks, and I was saying, well, you got to get some looking to the left, looking to the right. And in this case, we didn't have a lot of images of Jeremy looking far to one side or looking far to the other side. And if you remember this video of Jonesy, he actually does look pretty far to the left and look pretty far to the right. Okay. If we had images of Jeremy doing that, it would have mapped it on where his head was kind of going back and forth like this. But because it didn't, it did its best guess, and it kind of processed over top of it. So you can see he's just slightly turning his head back and forth. Oh, why isn't it playing? There we go. You can see.
So do you think the Cobra Cast might be a like an easier clip to use because he's always in front of the center camera?
Yeah, that would be great. And I mean, you got to play around with that. You know, first of all, you need a pretty high quality image. So a lot of times when they're doing streams, you can't get a decent grab. I find that the YouTube Shorts are usually the best place to get a video grab that's going to render well with the deepfake technology. But you know, if you find a decent, and because they're portrait, you know, they're filmed portrait, so you get a bigger image. If it's landscape, if you're videoing something landscape, sometimes the image can be too small and it gets confusing and it doesn't work as well. But, you know, try different things. Who knows? I mean, or if you could, rather than recording it on your phone, you can record it on your computer and get a bigger image that way, as long as it's clear enough to run through the processor. Because we kind of took everything, threw it into an AI and created this animated version of Jeremy, we were less concerned with like things like the clarity of the imagery and that sort of thing. So, all right. But that's it. That's the video in the end. So, and I'll put this out, or, you know, we can put this out later as kind of a tweet or whatever, so you guys can take a look at it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to drop that the full video in the thread for the show, we can have it in there as well.
Cool. Yeah, let's do that. So, but that's the whole thing. Again, you know, start to finish, a couple hours. If you're going to be doing something serious, and this is me just going back into, I think I can stop sharing at this point. Why did I do
that? It looks like he accidentally left. Give him 1 second to get back. That was really cool. Thank you, Corey, for that. We'll wait for him to pop back in. So I'm just going to make sure he still has the link. Okay, here we go. Corey is back.
Oh, yeah. I tried to stop sharing my screen and I logged myself out. Classic, right? So, Anyway, so no, but like I said, it's fun stuff to do. You learn it pretty quickly. You're not going to do it perfect the first time. You pick it up pretty quick. You got questions, reach out. You can go online. I'll send over some links that you can drop in the description on places where I learned how to do it. I went out on YouTube. I looked around, these sorts of things. But, you know, sky's the limit with this stuff. You can put anyone in any video. You can make fun of people with it. You know, be nice.
Remember to be responsible, guys. This is all about humor and having fun and appreciating the people we like. Don't take it too far, huh?
Well, and the other thing is when you download Deepface Labs, it comes with 2 videos. It's I think it's Elon Musk giving a speech, and then one of the scenes where Tony Stark, I think it was from the first Iron Man, where he's giving a speech. And you can play around with it. They give it to you for testing purposes. They give you 2 pretty decent quality videos, and they give that so you can play around with the technology. You don't have to go out and do things. And there's plenty of people who've done YouTube videos online that kind of show them taking those pre-packaged videos and rendering them in different ways and these sorts of things. So play around with that before you start doing something you're gonna publish, or not. Do your own thing. That's cool too. So
yeah, so thank you again, Corey. I appreciate it. And hopefully everybody in the chat has learned something. And just so you guys know, this is going to be on the channel, so feel free to, rewind, fast forward, do whatever you need to. And thank you for everybody who showed up. If you guys know of any other creators who would be willing to share what they do with the rest of the world, feel free to tag them in the comments of the video, and I will reach out. And if you want to share anything as a creator, I'm more than happy to have you guys on. So just let me know. You can DM me on Twitter, or you can email the Legion of Memers. Yeah, so thank you so much, Corey. Thank you again.
Yeah.
And we'll see everybody next time. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good one. See ya.
Now, there we go.